welcome to the All
Inclusive
Podcast.
podcast.
I'm your host, Shy, and
And I'm your host, Gentle, aka the Overseer, BKA, the best to ever do it. Don't you forget it. What's going on, world?
what's up? What's up? What's up? Um, Today is our last episode for the season.
Season 1 down.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
killed it. We
yeah.
killed it. We killed it,
I'm
cuz.
loving it.
We
I'm
definitely
loving it.
killed
I'm
it.
loving
Season
it.
1 was
Yeah,
amazing.
it was amazing. It was amazing. And I've kind of been like really like waiting for this particular topic because it's dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that everybody keeps talking about, which is mental health.
Definitely.
So we have an amazing guest. Um, she is actually my therapist. Her name is Lynette Mason. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lynette Mason.
All right.
Nice to meet you, Lynetta. We are so honored for you to be here today, and we appreciate your presence. So thank you so much
Yes.
for, being here with us at the All Inclusive Podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you
We
for inviting
definitely
me.
appreciate it.
Definitely.
So we're gonna start off with a temperature check. Cause what's your temperature check?
I feel like we always do mine first. You go first, cuz. What's your temperature?
My temperature is always hot on Fridays. But collectively throughout the weeks, it's been lukewarm. I've been personally struggling with my mental health. And like it's almost like if you know me, you know I'm struggling. But if you don't, I could be screaming, I could be kicking, and it's like, oh, she's fine, she's cool. But of course, every Friday, I know that I'm coming here, I'm gonna be with my cuz. We're going to either do the show solo and rock it, or we're gonna have amazing, guests.
Definitely.
So, I'm always excited on Friday. Cause this is my baby, and to see my baby just flourish the way that it is, it just makes my heart just like so like happy.
Definitely.
It's joy in my heart. So yeah.
It's like having your baby's first birthday, basically.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
season 1.
Season 1, yeah.
That's the really cool part, and I'm just so blessed as well to be a part of this podcast, and just it has elevated my life, and definitely, and I just appreciate you giving birth to it and letting me help you take care of it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You the godmother.
Yeah, I'm the godmommy.
You the godmommy. Okay.
My temperature check just real quick. You know what? I was having a really cold week, and when I say cold, I mean like I just was off all the way. Like, everything was coming at me. It felt like every which way. Every time I turned around, I felt like I was trying, take a step forward, then I had to take 2 steps back. So I was just feeling overwhelmed and a little, I'm not going to say depressed, but I was melancholy this weekend. Not this weekend, but this week. Well, this weekend going into the week. But needless to say, I had an experience through reading a book. And it's called You Are a Badass, and it's by Jen Sincero. And what she actually talked about was kind of changing your perspective to no matter what you're going through, whatever is happening outside of you, internally turning it into a positive and just finding the silver lining in every cloud. And then once I read that and I really started to think about it and really, digest it and process and I put it into implementation, I was like, you know what? Every day about to be the best day of my life.
Yes.
I'm done with being negative. I'm done with negativity. I'm done with being sad, being melancholy. Like, obviously, you're still going to be sad. You're going to still have those emotions. But I'm choosing to put my best foot forward. So with that being said, I am on fire.
You're on fire.
I'm on fire.
Okay, I like that. I really
100%.
like that. Yeah. What's your temperature check?
I've had a good week. I've had a great week.
Great week.
That's awesome.
Big Leo energy.
Absolutely.
Big Leo energy. You want to know what's funny? Because you've known all my relationships, pretty much all. I attract to Leos, not just like intimate relationships, but like my boss is a Leo, and my godson is a Leo, and I have a brother that's a Leo, my grandfather Leo. All of these like important relationships that I have are all with Leos. They all add something. And you want to know what I think it is? Because I'm work, 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 work. Leos are like outgoing and fun loving and spontaneous and stuff like that. And that's my balance. That's when I need my balance. So, yeah, big Leo energy. Okay.
Definitely. I know a thing or two about Leos as well. Have dealt with them my entire life.
Sorry.
And we're not making this an astrology, podcast episode, but it's just a good energy, and I felt that from you when we first started talking. So, I'm appreciative from fire sign to fire sign because I'm an Aries. Okay. We're the best. Aries, Sagittarius, Leo. We the ones.
Wait a minute.
But anyway,
can't leave out
no,
Capricorn.
no, that was it.
No,
that was the end of the point.
Okay.
But on a serious note, saying all that to say, we just happy that you're here, and we happy to dive into this topic. So,
yeah,
take it away, cuz.
So, you introduce yourself. So, tell me, like, what do you specifically see in this generation as being like number one issue with like mental health, as far as um dealing with mental health, acknowledging mental health, uh and then once you get to the point where you have a client where you have, the sessions and everything like that, what's the top things that you see right now in the mental health field?
If you're talking about the younger generation, they want solutions right now, yesterday, the other day. And a lot of times they don't see that it's a process and that it takes time and it takes patience. So they want the solution right away.
So it's like that microwave mentality.
Yes.
It's just overall for them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Overall, the biggest problem that I see is depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Absolutely, anxiety.
Mm.
It can manifest itself in any number of ways, which a lot of people don't know. Anxiety can manifest itself as irritability. You have an attitude all the time. It can manifest itself even in some depressive symptoms. You can manifest itself in a panic attack, and you're laying out on the floor and you don't know what happened.
That's interesting that you said that, because I think people throw around these words all the time, but they might not know the real definition, or that it can look differently per, depending on the, excuse me, depending on the person, and I appreciate you saying that. We're going to dive a little bit more into that. I'm really interested. I might be going backwards, but I'm really interested to know, what got you into being in the mental health field, and what caused you to kind of like, especially as a woman of color, which we appreciate here,
yes,
1,000%. And I'm sure, intersectionality within your field is kind of, you saying more people of color, more women of color becoming therapists and things like that. But I just want to know, like, what drew you to this field, and what made you want to like really help this generation, people, period, when it comes to mental health.
I started in this field on an administrative end. Around the time I was about 29. We're not going to talk about before 29 because that was a mess. So I started in this field around then, just as an administrative assistant, and I kind of worked my way up in the field. It wasn't enough. I eventually got my master's degree in nonprofit management, but it was like, is this what I really want to do? It was something else missing. It was a piece missing. So, by being in the substance abuse field, I'm surrounded by counselors, social workers, just different people. And they were like, did you ever think about being a counselor? I was like, I used to be a bartender, and same thing. It is, by the way.
Right. Listening to people's problems.
Yeah. So I went back to school and got my second master's degree in clinical mental health counseling.
Okay.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to, not one, but two master's degrees. I only have one. So respect. I humbly, bow down to the two. You feel me? But that's interesting. I appreciate you kind of like, shedding light on like your journey into mental health, and it kind of found you is what it sounds like, which is interesting because somebody saw fit like that you were the type of person that would be really great in this field, and from what my cousin has told me, you're wonderful. So I think that's awesome because we need, especially, I'm not gonna lie to you, we need Black women
Yes.
therapists. Like,
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, like, when I first started my journey of therapy, which I don't even know what year it was, but matter of fact, I do. I'm lying. It was right after I had my son in 2019. I started dealing with postpartum depression, but I didn't know what it was. And then I started, seeking a therapist, but it was, and this is no disrespect, but it was a white lady,
Yeah.
and she was really old, and I was just like,
It's no relatability there.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm telling her what's going on with me, but I could feel like, there's obviously some cultural differences here, so she couldn't necessarily. I mean, she was giving me advice, right, or listening per se, but sometimes what I find when it comes to therapists, if they understand your situation because maybe they've been in it or if they've seen it in their family or friends or whatnot, something like that, like close to them, it's like you said, the relatability, like being able to kind of really give you real world, real time advice,
Yes.
not just generic. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Oh, you should journal. You
Yeah.
should read a book. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need real implementation. Like, so, just shout out to all and I'm not taking anything away from Black male therapists because Black men therapists are super important as
Yes.
well. But I really appreciate Black women therapists because I had a Black woman therapist not too long ago, and we really dug into some uncomfortable shit, and I was like, wow, like I needed this, and it was a really great experience. I ain't gonna say it was great while it was happening because every time we was talking, I was crying, and I was like, is this how this supposed to go? Because I ain't for this.
Yeah.
Every week for an hour, I'm crying. Like, what's going on?
But that ties into when you're in therapy, with your therapist, you should be your most vulnerable. There are things that I have discussed with my therapist that I may not even discuss with you because
1,000%.
like, and you're my person, but I feel like I need the help professionally. Not only that, um, my therapist pretty much is like, I'm not. This is your journey, and that's the thing that I could respect about her. Like, this is your journey. Now, I'ma say I probably started taking my therapy journey really, really serious about a year ago, more closely 6 months ago, where I was just like digging in, like everything that,
Doing that self work.
yeah, that self work. And that like brings me to accountability. A lot of time, and you could talk about this in therapy, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm gonna talk to this person, they're gonna give me advice. My therapist is like asking me questions so that I can reflect, so that I am accountable for what I'm thinking, my emotions, my actions. And a lot of people want just somebody to just talk to, but they don't want to really dig deep and deal with the deep rooted issues,
That's facts.
because they don't want to be accountable. So can we talk about that?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
It makes growth and progress a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you can't get there. It doesn't mean that, you can't get there and get to where it is that you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
It just might take a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be accountable for your own actions, your own thoughts, your own feelings. And what your therapist is supposed to do is have the ability to call you on your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if they can't do that, then you probably need a new therapist. But the therapist themselves should acknowledge, okay, I'm not able to do that.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
may be better if you see another therapist and
Mm-hmm.
refer you to someone else. And a lot of times, like, clients may get offended by that, but at the end of the day, it's our job to do what's best for the client. And if we're not what's best for the client,
Mm-hmm.
then we need to make sure that they see someone who is.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Um and you know what? Just like piggybacking off of what you said, I think and I hate to keep, hopping on race or whatever, but I think just culturally, I ain't even gonna say race, but culturally, I think certain people, mainly people of color, don't know how to do therapy or
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
see that as a viable option because within our community, I know the way I was raised. I
What
can't speak
happens
for
in this house
nobody else.
stays in this house. Like that mindset,
I mean,
it's like it tore down so many children, adults, and then you wonder why you're walking around with the same generational curse that your mom and your great grandmother and your grandmother walked around with, and it was because everything was a secret. Somebody's touching somebody, and I mean, because we're gonna talk about it. Somebody's being touched, and it's like, no, you don't tell that you are being touched. And then when you are crying out for the help, then it's like, oh, this person is promiscuous or this person is disrespectful. But really, it's a cry for help. So, what have you seen in the therapy field related to that?
I've seen it in my own family.
Mm,
So it's you keep things to yourself, and you keep things, it's almost seen as a sign of weakness to go out and seek the help.
hmm
It's you're weak if you seek help. Now, fortunately, my family has two therapists in it. So in this generation, so it's becoming more accepted,
hmm
but it's still just the whole, well, what is it that you do? You prescribe medicine? What you do? And people, are sometimes a little hesitant to even, they'll, family reunions and stuff like
hmm
that. Sometimes people may be hesitant to talk to you.
mm-hmm.
hmm
Because they don't want you to diagnose
No, no.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a therapist. I'm not a psychic.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Not only that, but I'm sure you know when to take your hat off, your therapy hat off, and just be
absolutely.
Lynetta. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? People don't realize that. But what I was gonna say before, cause interjected, like as far as my experience, as far as, when I was growing up, and she touched on it, but it was more so like prayer, right? Oh, you don't need to see a therapist,
Mm,
just
Yes.
pray. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Take it to Jesus.
Just yeah, like
hmm
talk to God about it. You don't need to see no therapist. You don't need to be on no medication. And I'm like, all right, cool. And like growing up as a black person, and I'm just speaking from the black experience,
Yeah.
I know so many people who self-medicate every day of their life,
Yes.
whether it be drinking, smoking weed, popping pills, whatever. And it's like they're dealing with the hurt that, that they can't, necessarily talk about to a therapist because mommy or grandma or pop said, you don't need no therapist. You need to take it to Jesus. So now they just praying and smoking weed. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like what I mean, as far as like your clientele, is it, and I'm not, trying to necessarily get into the demographic, but as far as like working with people of color, do you find that it is like difficult for them to kind of unwind and really talk about things because a lot of us were conditioned to not have those conversations?
More so the older generations.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And that's cross culturally. I have clients of all cultures.
Right.
But mostly it's the older generation
Mm-hmm.
that has the most difficulty with opening up and with talking. But it's more so, I guess, my presentation that assists the clients with talking, because I'm myself. I'm gonna be myself. I'm not gonna be anybody but myself.
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be direct. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Definitely.
And what I've noticed is like, because she's not my first therapist that I've ever seen,
Mm-hmm.
but in my adulthood, like I appreciate therapy way more than I did when I was younger
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, it makes me accountable. So, my recent revelation about myself is that person didn't take advantage of me. I allowed that person to take advantage of me. That person didn't hurt me. I allowed them to hurt me, and just when I take responsibility, number one, I forgive for whatever the action was. first I forgive myself for allowing myself to um put myself in that situation, but I forgive that person and I can move on, and I don't have all this animosity, and I'm not walking around angry and upset and self-medicating
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, it's days where it's just like it's hard days for me. But it's more so like, okay, what can I do to get out of this hard day? Which is why I'm glad that you brought up um in your temperature check, like it's all about perception.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you perceive becomes your reality. And what your
Perception is power.
yeah, and what your reality is, you start to walk into that reality.
For sure.
So it's just all connected, but it's a mental thing. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So I definitely can say for me, the biggest part of mental health I feel like is missing is accountability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And just to piggyback off of that, I think for me, what I did not, and again, this comes from generational, like we always say, generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You wonder why somebody always downtrodden, they always angry, they always upset, but they have never had the opportunity to just not be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's okay to not be okay. I
Yeah.
had to learn that probably like after I had my son, matter of fact. And I was talking to somebody and they was like, yo, you just had a baby. Like, you're going to be, going through these mental changes. You're going to be emotional. You're going to feel like, the world is ending because your baby can't latch on. Like, and I was like, what? Like, and I say for women as well, because we take on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we fail at stuff, we feel like it's the end of the world. And I'm sure that you see that with your clients as far as like, women. I'm not speaking for anybody but myself, but I know for me, it's like the weight of the world is on my shoulder and I don't never tell nobody. I'm just dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, ain't no, and even we talked about self-care, no self-care. I'm just upset. I'm talking to people real crazy. I'm being rude. I'm cussing people out. Like that ain't it. You got to talk to somebody. So what is your advice, especially for people who might be, um, afraid to seek therapy, or they may not feel like it's for them or whatnot. Like, what are your thoughts as far as like people in relation to therapy? Should everybody have a therapist, or, that's a question I don't know if you could answer, but I would like for you to, take a crack at it.
Everybody should have a therapist that wants a therapist.
Okay, respect.
Mm-hmm.
Most people need a therapist.
For
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Therapists need therapists.
Therapist.
Wow.
They're
Yeah.
all, and that's an all. All therapists need therapists.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We carry the weight for other people, and we hold space for other people, and we're that safe space.
For sure.
That means that we need somebody to talk to too.
Mm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, a lot of people probably wouldn't think that a therapist need a therapist, but it makes sense because you take on so much
Mhm.
listening to other people's problems. I know for me, the type of person I am, after the call or after the session or whatever, I would be still thinking about whatever
Yes.
solutions I could come up with for that person, which I'm sure you do. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense as far as like, people having, you know what I'm saying, well, therapists having their own therapists or whatnot, because people wouldn't assume that. They probably would think that you just like listen to people's problems and like I think a lot of people think therapy is about judging them. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
it's definitely not that. So I mean, can you speak to that as far as like, because I mean I personally felt like that when people think that therapists like, oh, I want to tell you everything, because I struggle with that, like talking to my therapist about absolutely everything that was going on, because I'm like, oh, she judging me. But like, what's the mindset there? I mean, what would you tell a person if that's something that's stopping them from seeking therapy?
There's no judgment. At the end of the day, our only job is to help,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. If you feel like your therapist is judging you, you should also feel free to call your therapist on that,
Okay.
because we're human beings too,
Mm-hmm.
and that may be the right way to do and what it is that we should be doing, but that doesn't mean that everybody's doing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So everybody is not in the fields that they're in for the right reasons all the time.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So you should always feel comfortable to call your therapist out if
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're being judged. Because at the end of the day, and I tell all my clients this, at the end of the day, and it comes to therapists, psychiatrists, your doctors, whoever, we work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
For
that's
sure.
it. We
For
work for
sure.
you. We're
I
essentially your employee.
Right. I appreciate you saying that because I think that might stop a lot of people too, especially men.
Yes.
I mean, and I ain't gonna put them out there, but I got some men in my life, but specifically the one I'm thinking about, I'm related to him. And I know for sure that he wouldn't go to therapy just because, number one, he's a black man.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, if he had a woman therapist, he would feel like breaking down in front of that person would
Make
feel,
him
yeah,
inferior.
make him feel weak or emasculated.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had a male therapist, he would feel like he couldn't, talk about that type of stuff because he don't want that other man to see him as less than or he's weak or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you breaking that stereotype because people really think about stuff like that. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't talk to this person because they judging me. Like, no, this ain't your homegirl. This ain't your friend. This is
Yeah.
an unbiased person
Yeah.
that is separate from your situation that you talk to about what's going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and then they help you find solutions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Great way of putting it.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Don't be scared to get therapy, guys.
please don't. And like I know this has made national news. The Carly Russell situation. And everybody's talking about like mental health. She's going through something. She needs to have a mental health. I feel like because I'm big on accountability. Like number one, she needs to be accountable for what she did, and she probably does need to seek some mental health because there's some deep rooted issues that made her make the decision that she made. But number one, be accountable because it's little black girls, who are disappearing that did not get national news and their parents are waiting for them to come home. So you just messed it up culturally for us. Um, but I definitely believe like there is some mental um like struggles that she went through to make her be like, you know what, I want to disappear. And it is okay to be like, I want to disappear. I've gone through it, Gentle's gone through it. I'm pretty sure Lynetta's been gone through it. It is okay. Just please do not like reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody that you can trust. If you have a therapist, like reach out to your therapist. I mean, literally, this has been probably the roughest month that I've had this year. And twice I've had to reach out to my therapist and text, hey, can we talk today? That's untypical of me. I got a call back. Like, reach out to somebody. Don't like we're both suicide survivors. Like suicide is not the way. Like it's always another way for whatever you're going through. You can go through it or you can just give up. Please, like reach out to somebody that you feel that you can trust. Um, even if that means my phone's ringing.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was
Um,
all right. No harm, no foul. This is a real
this is a real
podcast
podcast.
and we're real people
Yeah,
and we get phone calls.
we did.
So anyway.
So, but I was literally just saying because this is like ministry. Like, reach out to somebody. Have a therapist.
Mm.
Call 911. Hey, I'm feeling like I'm going crazy. Like now they are training the police officers to come, and it's like a specific team of officers that come, and it's like for mental breakdowns.
988.
988.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Thank you for that resource. And
Yeah.
at the end too, if you could just give we'll talk about it then, but if you could just give us like a few resources that maybe people don't know about that might help like the suicide or
Yeah.
mental health breakdown or just maybe where they can go find a therapist or what might be a good and we don't have to talk about that now, but
No, I mean,
Yeah.
the Trevor Project is a really good one.
okay.
It's a nonprofit whose primary focus is just to focus on suicide prevention in the
Mm,
LGBTQ community for
Mm.
LGBTQ youth.
wow.
You can literally go to the trevorproject.org, and as soon as you open up their page, it pops up. Do you want to chat with us? Do you need to talk to us? Do you need to text us? And and it has those resources right there.
Wow.
Okay. Good, good,
Thank
good.
you for that
Yes.
information.
Hmm.
Because
Yes.
there's so many people that's you know, and I always say being a suicide survivor, people who talk about, they want to end their life and stuff like that, those are the people definitely that you need to pull close and give some support. But the people who don't talk and they just secretly plotting, they the ones who might actually do it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if you need help, you know, please seek it. Talk to somebody, pick up the phone, just you don't even gotta say a whole lot of words. Like you could just let them know SOS. I don't know. Say something, write it down. I mean, a lot of people which I've seen, within recent years have gone to Facebook or Instagram and then they'll go through a whole, spiel. But that's like a cry for help.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
social media, man, and we could please can we dive into that real quick? I'm just, curious, from your standpoint as a mental health professional, the effect of social media on people's mental health. Can you talk about that and unpack it a little bit? Because I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest barriers to people having good mental health. Because I mean, even me, I've had to, take a social media break or whatever. So can you speak to that and kind of like let us know, social media, is it a gift or curse? What?
First, I respond to it as a mother. I keep my children off of social media just for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a safe space. And if you are already in a bad place, it may push you over the edge.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with people being bullied online. You have to and this is adults too. And I'm not just talking about children.
Yeah, cyberbullying is
Yeah.
real. And the people who get mostly cyberbullied, which I've seen recently, is like celebrities. Not saying just them, but like anybody can get like, deal with cyberbullying. People think it's, this something that happened in this culture, like right now, this day and age.
Because people fail to realize that we're all human beings and we all have feelings. Either that or
For
they
sure.
just don't care,
Exactly.
which is a much darker picture of the
Yeah.
world. But
Yeah.
it's reality. Social media isn't always a bad thing though.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps us connected now.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Now with so much technology, we're all so far away. I know there are members of my family that I probably wouldn't even be able to talk to if it wasn't for social media.
Mm-hmm.
They're in different states, so we're always busy, and especially when you become parents, like you over here, I'm over here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Right.
But it keeps you connected with friends, with family, if it's used in the right way. So
Yeah.
I would say it's a gift and a curse.
And it can be an addiction too. Like
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
wake up
first,
scrolling. Yeah. Yeah.
First thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and and I mean, even when, I'm just thinking about me, the things I've dealt with in regards to social media, because this is a topic within itself, and I'm sure social media, especially since COVID, has probably rocked the world of
Yes.
mental health as far as therapists, and I'm sure y'all have seen it all in regards to like people struggle with social media. But I know for me, when I felt like I had to take a mental health break was when I started comparing myself to other people that I don't know. Like I'm looking at their life snapshots, of course, not their full life,
For
because I
life.
don't know
Yeah.
them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dang, this person traveling. I ain't traveled nowhere. Or this person, they married. I done had a divorce. You know what I'm saying? I'm a single parent. This person got this house, this car, this, not even thinking about, or giving myself gratifications of the things that I have accomplished. You know what I'm saying? We so quickly put that to the side, and like you were saying before about, everybody wants something, immediately, this popcorn, mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, dang, this person got this, I don't got this. Now I'm depressed. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't know what that person did to get that. You don't know if their life is really happy or they just, portraying that on social media. So like I really want your advice as far as like mental health breaks when it comes to social media. Do you suggest that? And if so, like how often should that happen?
Absolutely. I'm on a Facebook mental health break. So, but it's also about being mindful and, like you said, accountable to yourself
Mm-hmm.
for it. Like if you realize that you're missing hours and hours and hours of your day, and that you're not living your life because you're so busy reading about other people's lives,
Lives, yeah,
you're doing too much
yeah.
and you need to slow down. So now occasionally I might look on the Facebook and I go, oh, all right. And then I'm done. It's like weaning yourself off of it.
Right, because it's a
People become
drug.
addictive. Absolutely.
Mhm. It is. It is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't look at TikTok at all.
Oh, TikTok is. I mean,
Listen.
that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's really got the
The
younger
younger
generation
kids.
in a
Yeah.
chokehold. They in
Yeah.
a choke all day. Like even when I was a teacher, kids would just how you see kids walking down the hall, whatever, going to class. Man, these kids would stop in the middle of the hall,
And start
make a
dancing.
TikTok video. You tell them go down the hall. F you. You don't tell me what to do. And I'd be like, yo,
What?
why is this app making y'all this angry? And your attention span is so short
Yes.
that you can't walk from one classroom to another without hopping on social media, hopping on your phones,
Mm-hmm.
making a TikTok. I mean, and it's no judgment, but judgment.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
the same ones wearing hoodies in 90-degree
Degree
weather,
weather.
but
Yeah.
bless them.
Yeah.
God bless.
Definitely.
Go ahead, cuz what's your any specific like, questions as far as Miss Lynetta, and but
Yes.
as
Yeah.
far as her being here, as far as the mental health aspect, with some things that you want to know about it, like
Um.
dive deep into it.
So when I think about mental health, everybody, like you said, the most things that you like see is like depression and like anxiety, but they don't talk about like OCD. They don't talk about other, prominent disabilities that you may have. What are other things that you see that are like underlooked?
Right there at the top of the list is trauma and trauma response.
Mm.
For sure.
I do see a little OCD in a lot of people, and it used to be classified as anxiety disorder, but now it's on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But trauma is way at the top of the list, especially when you're looking at just living in Baltimore in general.
Mm-hmm.
Just living in Baltimore can be a traumatic experience.
Yes.
And the thing is that people get traumatized by things and don't even realize they've been traumatized
Mm-hmm.
by things. But I'm like, yeah, you're having a trauma reaction. That's what that is. And they're like, what are you talking about? I don't have any trauma. Yeah,
Right.
you do.
Can you define? That's what I was going to ask because people don't know what it looks like. Can you kind of, in your own words, define trauma and also trauma responses
Okay.
so we can understand that a little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So trauma is based on your perception. So what may be traumatic for me may not be traumatic for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when a situation happens that pushes your stress levels just to that point of breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a different situation for different people. Um, I've had somebody that had a trauma response off of an argument with a neighbor and then playing loud music intentionally, which was, to me, I'm like, okay, okay, we'll work through. I didn't personally understand that. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, we can talk about it. But I've also seen somebody who just got shot right in front of them. They were like, it's just another day.
They don't realize that they dealing with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that their moods change, that they are irritable. And we're not just talking about PTSD. Like everybody looks at PTSD like that's the one big trauma thing that everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a trauma response without having PTSD. Like you have to have a certain specific set of criteria to be diagnosed with PTSD.
People just use that because they see it all over the place or on TV or whatever. But yeah, they kind of describing it without knowing how to. Basically, what you're saying.
Right. And
Mm.
that's why it's important for a therapist just to ask those questions
Mm-hmm.
and to pretty much go through and then to explain what's most important is especially when you're coming up with a diagnosis because all the diagnosis is a working guess. That's all it is when you're talking to a doctor or anybody else. It's my best educated guess of
Mm.
what the issue is. But when you're coming up with that diagnosis or when you're starting to see things, it's important that you start explaining these things to the client. Like I've had clients with psychosis and they're like, I'm not crazy. I'm like, that's not what psychosis is.
Right.
Psychosis just means there's a presence of hallucination or delusion.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that
Yeah.
you're crazy. I'm not even saying like culturally, if you believe that you're seeing spirits, I can't even diagnose you with having that psychosis.
Mm,
That's crazy.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Not that's sorry, that was not the correct worded verbiage.
Yeah.
But I just meant like crazy in the sense of like, you know,
Like a
like
wow.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like a lot of things that you educating us on right now. I'm like everybody else. Like I say all the time, oh, I got PTSD due to how I grew up and how my dad used to talk to me. Like what I'm saying, but really it's probably a trauma response or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Something I don't fully understand. But that's why it's so important, y'all, to get seek
Professional help.
profession. I'm not saying your homegirl, your best friend, your cousin, your grandma, your mother. I'm not saying that those people cannot give you the advice or help you through, issues that you may be dealing with. But again, therapy is different because it's a person that's separate from your situation
Yeah.
and they're giving you unbiased just advice and they are because they're unbiased, they're able to give you the unadulterated truth as well.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they're able to help you look at your situation without what I'm saying, like the blinders on, because everybody kind of see like, oh, it ain't that big of a deal. I mean, I drink every night, but it's cool. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Oh, I
Right.
smoke weed every hour, but I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just a pothead.
Right.
Like something's wrong if you can't go through your day without a substance.
Right. And for me, like trauma was, I could say, the number one thing that I've dealt with, like a lot of trauma. And when I started to unpack that trauma, I started to see myself grow as a person because I was, dealing with it, you know. And then I started to see that my behaviors was associated with my trauma and not associating with just living, you know. Or I was existing and I wasn't living, which is something that we talk about on the podcast, but it had to do with my trauma and my relationships, intimate relationships, relationships with friends, it all tied into my trauma. So I dated my most recent relationship. I dated my father, but I dated the trauma part of him. That's crazy. And when I started to see that and started to like recognize that, I was like, "Oh wow, I got to deal with this cuz I'm just going to keep going in the same circle." But I've dated my mother in another relationship, like that trauma part of my mother, because that's what I'm familiar with and I accepted it and not dealt with it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely important to deal with those traumas.
Yeah, because a lot of things too comes from like what you were saying, and I know we wrapping up right now, but a lot of things too come from what people don't realize your relationships with your parents and
Mhm.
childhood experiences. And then what I noticed about me, I can't speak for nobody else, but a lot of things that I dealt with in childhood, all I'm doing is replaying those scenarios with other people because I
Yes.
haven't healed from it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times, y'all, you gotta talk to somebody about what happened in '94
Yeah.
or
Need to.
2001. I mean, it's 2023, but we got to start really dealing with the stuff that we hiding in the back of the closet with
Mhm.
our clothes, our jewelry, our car, our cash, our whatever. Talk to somebody, man. You got to have the conversation that's uncomfortable. You got to have the conversation you don't want to have that you're trying to have in order to get to the other side of healing. And I know you're going to agree with me in this regard. Therapy does not have a time limit on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the journey is ongoing. It's
Yes.
ongoing. It doesn't just end in a year or 2 years or whatever. So saying all that to say, we wrapping up
Um,
and
it's
I know you could give us some resources really quick before we get up out of here,
it's one
Miss
last
Lynette.
thing I want to say. I want to end with this. It's a beautiful thing to be understood, but it's a powerful thing to know yourself.
For sure.
So I want to end with that saying.
Appreciate that. And Miss Lynette, if you could
Resource.
if you got, I don't know if you want to give out a handle or some, maybe I don't know, whatever resources you could provide at this time.
well, like I was saying, 988 is is the more centralized resource.
Mm-hmm.
And it is where like everything is coming together. So the best resource is 988. If you need other resources like housing, food, things like that, because you know it's hard to take care or worry about your mental health if you don't know where you're gonna sleep, if you don't know what you're gonna eat. If that's the case, 211.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of agencies out here that will assist you with getting these things. All you have to do is put your hand out and reach out for help.
For sure. We appreciate that. And thank you for being here on the podcast on our last episode of
Just
season 1.
Yeah.
And with that being said,
We
out.
out.